This episode of Around the Grounds with Chocco is brought to you by Central Murray Live, 1332 3SH and 107.7 Mix FM. Welcome to Around the Grounds with Chocco, and I'm excited about having a chat with this person. And he was entrenched in this club, and his whole family has been, and he's an absolute stalwart. If you head out to this club, you will certainly know who this person is. And I talk of Ernie Booth. Boothy, welcome to Around the Grounds, mate.
G'day, Chocco. How you going, mate? Good to be here.
Good, mate. Really great to have you now, mate. You're heart entrenched. You're probably the heart and soul of one of the greater clubs in the Golden Rivers Football League. But they call you EJ. Why do they call you EJ?
Yeah, it wasn't a family. It was a schoolmate thing with first initials. So Ernest James. So I got EJ. I had Darren Arthur. So he got DA. There was a few of us. So yeah, EJ, and it just stuck at school. And I've carried on through right out through my life now, and even my family call me EJ now. So,
well, it makes sense, mate, because it's a great football nickname that we've heard so many times. So, mate, let's talk about your footy career. You played about 150 games with Moore, but you started off in the 70s, mate, in the fourths. What was it like playing junior football at Moulamein back in the 70s?
Yeah, Chocco, when I first started, we had an old gentleman by the name of Charlie Peach and John Wesley, a couple of old guys with the force, and we used to go to the ground before footy started, and we'd have a training run, just a bit of a run around and kick the frost off the grass as little whippersnappers. And then, because Mum and Dad were involved so much, we used to hang around for the rest of the day. But they'd have a training run with us, a lot of home games, and then we would continue on at half-time to have a game, against the seniors, half-time the seniors, and we'd be out having another go. So, yeah, footy was a good thing back then, and we used to play a lot of footy in the park, and, force was good.
What were the numbers like back then? Was it just basically families of kids around the region that would gather on a Saturday and play? Did you train throughout the week? What was it like back then?
Not so much with force, the training wasn't during the week as much. It was more a Saturday morning thing with Charlie and John Wesley, the guys that were always busy. But back then, Chocco, we had a Moulamein high school that went, we had 250 kids at our school. There was bus runs that ran east, north, south, east, west of Moulamein. And there was, numbers were aplenty. You had to battle, when I moved up in under 16, back then. Yeah, it was, you had to train and earn your spot. It wasn't just to give me like can be this day and age.
Yeah, so there was obviously plenty of numbers back then, mate. But what position did you play as a junior?
As a junior, I was a backman, but then, ventured on into the ruck, probably because of my height, like with my group. Was never a tall ruckman, couldn't jump much, just a crash and bash. And that got me, once I went through into under 16s and then started playing the odd reserves game and ventured into seniors and started in a back pocket with my old mate Mick Evans and Cros Morrison, couple of old stalwarts.
Yeah, so you mentioned your under 16 year, mate. 79 was a good year for you. You won the B&F. So tell us a bit about 79, mate, and what made you the best and fairest player, besides the fact you were probably the best player out there. But what made you so special?
Actually, Chocco, I've got to say it, and I probably should be too hard on myself, but all my mates seemed to be a year older than me, and they'd ventured when we played in the 78 grand final. I probably struggled just to get a game, but I did scratch in there, and we got beat. But they all moved on, being too old, and I become the top age in the under 16s, which made it a really good year for myself, and obviously a few of my mates, my school mates, obviously my own age, but. Yeah, no, it was a good year for me under a coach by the name of Ernie James. I remember in the 78, I had a bad corky and they had me doing squats and things like that to try and break it up, and I was in tears. But yeah, look, back in them days, so more so the fact I think I've become the top age in the under 16s and all my mates had moved on into senior and reserves footy. Yeah.
So then after 16s, mate, you made the venture into senior footy and you played. Can you remember your first game of senior footy?
I shouldn't say this, but not at Moulamein. I reckon I played in '79 a couple of games in the Resies and seniors on the bench when it was 19th and 20th man. But I do remember my first senior game in the Central Murray when I had 1 year at Warraneen. Just in 1980, I played under Johnny Hoskins and he gave me a run out at Lelbert. I got a belt in the ear off a bloke by the name of Lee Brown, and all I could hear was my old man abusing him on the bench. So that was good fun. But at Moulamein, I really don't remember my first senior game in '79. No, sorry.
Now, tell us about the 80s. There was some lean years there for Moulamein. What was the reasoning behind those lean years? Was it numbers? Was it being competitive? Was it the competition? What were those years like in the 80s?
The early 80s Choccos, yeah, it was, I reckon, from 81 through to 84 sort of thing. We were, when I first went back in 81, we were getting belted by 100 points most weeks. But then, we had some people move up from downtown, and this guy had played footy in the down at Carlton Reserves back then, VFL. His in-laws had bought the pub, and that just brought a new lease of life. They got into the club and created a bit of interest, a lot more training endeavour and a lot more interest, more numbers. Back then it was folks would turn up for a game on Saturday, it was hard to get them to train. So, by the time 84 come 85, things were starting to pick up. Yeah, when we got to 87, we actually played in a night series, won a grand final over in Denny in 87, some pre-season. And things started to really pick up towards the end of the 80s, definitely.
Yeah, so you talk about 87 because you had a struggled period in the 80s, but the club turned it around. Was there, and you mentioned, obviously you got some players from down south, but did you go on a big recruiting, or was it just a matter of the locals just got in and got their hands dirty because, 87 you played off in a granny? What was the turnaround, EJ?
I think the turnaround, we got a lot more of the locals and jackaroos. We used to get quite a few jackaroos off farm. They'd come to the farmlands and come to footy, weren't really interested. We got a few of them interested because we had a couple of really good footballers, ventured in from out around Windurin and another guy from up at St Paul's. And they were cracking senior footballers. And plus all our local group, Ian Shippen was back in town and he was, up and about, absolute good footballer. 87, 88, we had a good mate of his come down from Melbourne and that's when things really kicked off. Yeah. And training, once again, we're getting the numbers on the track. Yeah, so our reserves were very competitive as well once we're in the mid-80s. Yeah.
Now, let's talk about 87, mate, because you had a bit of a stellar season, but unfortunately broke your collarbone in the last home and away. Can you remember who that was against and how it happened? Because it was a bit of a bad timing when it comes to injuries.
Definitely, Chocco. Yeah, it was up at Hay. Got up at Hay and family history of going to hospital up there. And I got to say, it was probably the most painful injury I've ever had. Just the meat and the sandwich right in the back pocket, right against the boundary. And two blokes just got me clean and I felt it going. I just walked over and sat on the fence until the trainers come and got me and they took me straight up to the hospital. But in all that, I tried everything, I ended up back at training 2 weeks before the grand final. But the hierarchy, it was disappointing, I started doing more work and trying to mark a footy, run and keep myself a bit fit. I was doing everything I could to make myself available for the grand final because it was something I'd never, other than under 16s and we'd lost. And great bunch of blokes and I thought, we're in here, but wasn't to be for me. So the hierarchy put a stop to it. And it wasn't worth the risk, first quarter injury, you're gone, So, I ended up being the runner for the 87 grand final and got involved that way.
Yeah, so 87, for the people that don't know, you unfortunately, Moolah lost that grand final to Appin, but you mentioned you got involved as a runner, but it still wasn't the same, mate. How was the emotions that day, knowing the fact that you couldn't be out there playing?
Yeah, it was hard, Chocco. Look, I've seen my son go through it and things like lose a grand final. It's just one of those things for the blokes as well. They battled all day and it was a good game of footy, and in the end, Appin ran away with it. Look, yeah, there was a bit of a back in the old bit of biff back in the day, and we lost our coach. He ended up in hospital that night. But just one of those things. It was heartbreaking, heart wrenching once the grand final and the siren's gone and it's lost. It was just to watch the blokes walk off the ground, Chocco, and not be part of it was it was hard to take, definitely.
Well, you basically regrouped in big pre-season because 88 was the year for the Swans, mate, and you went on and win the premiership. Tell us about 88 and that 27-year drought of senior success, and you beat Crombertook. Tell us a bit about that year and what it was like to finally be a premiership player at Moulamein.
Yeah, mate. It was a terrific stellar year. I do remember pre-season got off to a flyer with numbers, and which has been lean out. Had been lean in years out there, but pre-season was a cracker. And going through the season, we weren't undefeated all year, but we certainly were a very strong club in '88. Had a cracking all but a local side with one of our local boys had come back from Barron to take over coaching in Peter Evans. And with Johnny Seapolt stepping down and just being an absolute gem of a football around the place and took the load off him. But yeah, our year was stellar. We actually played in a pre-season grand final again, but lost that. So we reversed that from the year before. And yeah, just went on to win it. And a lot of nerves, absolute lot of nerves the day of the grand final. And yeah, just to get there and walking around the ground before we got on. We had a couple of young blokes with the boom boxes and songs, and "We Are the Champions" was our motivational song. I remember that, and I got a Pizzlin straight after it. But yeah, so we went right through the finals and got to the granny, and to win that was a close game. Crombertook they were probably the better side on the day. Our coach turned around, kicked 4 goals in the third quarter, and brought us back with a level field. And I think they were leading still with 5, 8, 10 minutes to go. We hit the front, and it was only a goal that we won by. And yeah, look, a bloke by the name of Dave Brock will come on. I reckon it was the last quarter. Kicked a miracle goal from a free kick on the boundary line out near the 50 line. It was just a freak thing, which got us up and running. And yeah, in the end we come home with the goods for Old Combi. It would be heartbreaking for them, but the ground erupted. We had, I would say, one of the league best days with the following. It was just a sea of red and white. And after the final siren, I remember being in the middle of the ground, just almost suffocated. Yeah.
Well, we talk about football being the heart and soul, and netball being the heart and soul of communities. But how important was the community back then, knowing the fact that there was 27 years between premierships? And they'd won it in '88. What was the feeling like amongst the community back then, knowing the fact they were the premiers?
Yeah, look, Chocco, look, the emotion was amazing, and the support from far and wide. Josh's father and everybody that had been around the club for so long just come out, and the gate was phenomenal. The noise was phenomenal on the Murray football ground that day. When Moulamein kicked a goal, something went our way, the crowd erupted, and it was just, yeah. For the community, it lingered on after that. Like, we went on for 3 weeks. One bloke didn't go back to work for, but the community got right behind it. I remember we had the Mad Monday. We run around town, wheelie bins, and people were just driving around putting boxes of beer in there. And we finished up at that day on the Monday afternoon at a council meeting. We were told to be quiet. We got in there, and the council was welcomed us all in. And yeah, it was just, yeah, it was a never-ending supply of funds, and there was grog, there was food, and it went on and on for a good week.
So you're basically treated like rock stars, mate, and that's probably what it sounds like. There's some pretty good times, but mate, Moulamein as a club obviously means so much to you and your family. Your dad, your mum. I know your wife's been involved, your mother-in-law, and now your kids have been, third generation. What makes this club so special to you and so many others?
Look, yeah, I guess, look, mate, it's been an absolute big part of my life, and I grew up around a football club, similar to Josh, like I was telling him. My old man was so involved with stuff, he dragged me out of bed on a Sunday morning when I was only 7, 8. Oh boy, we've got to go and clean up the footy ground, picking up rubbish. And I guess I kicked off then, and as I got a bit older, the dad was marking the ground. And then he got involved with training. But I had to be involved. I had no choice. You want to be playing footy, and him and his older mates, they'd run us around. Mum and Dad never had much money. They'd share cars and take kids to footy, and and it moved on from there. And then it was great to have Dad and the father-in-law involved with the '88 Grand Final as trainers. We now got the pictures at home. But then we moved on from Mum and Dad and the in-laws and everything. That my kids then got involved. The wife was involved with netball. Our two eldest daughters were playing netball then. She was involved at committee level. We was involved with some social committee. The girls were there on a Thursday night for tea all the time, and they loved it. Then, of course, the younger kids come along. And as soon as I had a boy, my son Benjamin, he was just footy mad from when he was 3 years old. Grew up with a footy in his hand, and he's moved on through footy, and I've supported him as a coach. And then Marcus, my twin, and another daughter, the younger daughter Renee, with netball, supported them through that. My wife involved with training later on. And it's just been a great place to go, Chocco. Like any country town without a footy club is, as we see this day out in the Mallee, they bleed. But we were just so involved. It was a great place for catch-up. Weekends, you'd catch up with all your farm mates and everybody. And the kids have moved on with help of me then, and now they've moved on to coaching and being involved at committee level. So it's great stuff. I could recommend it to anybody.
It's amazing how you talk about generations on generations. Early, you spoke about, how you remember as a fourths player kicking the dew off. And then, you talk about now, you're involved in coaching juniors and helping out at junior development, mate. What does that mean to you, putting back into the junior side of your club?
Yeah, I coached for 4 years, had the under-14s under my belt with the help of, there was five of us back then, and we took the group into a final series. Just the delight you get out of watching. It's not all about winning for mine, it's about developing kids at that age. But to see the delight and the noise that the kids make when they win a game and the way they react, that just puts a smile on everybody's face in the room. You get the parents involved, and we had some stellar years. Numbers were plenty. We used to get 30 on the track, Chocco, and it was just something that was unheard of. Went through with 4 years and then jumped into under-17s for only 1 year and a couple of young blokes. I thought I might hand it over to them because I couldn't run with them anymore. But yeah, once again, under-17s weren't real strong, but they were competitive, and just the delight and having somewhere for those kids. And it becomes a second home. They become part of your family. You carting them around to footy. Young kids, we had a Tarago bus. You just load her up, take them off to footy if they couldn't get there. So just the satisfaction as a parent to see that your kids, and it keeps them off the street and somewhere to go. Yeah.
Well, EJ, mate, you've had a stellar career, but more importantly, mate, you're involved with the club as a president, as a club person, as a coach, a player. Mate, it's been great to reminisce, and thank you for everything you do, particularly at the Moulamein Footy Club, but across football and netball in general, mate. Great chatting with you, EJ. Hope you stay safe, mate, and looking forward to having a beer with you at the footy pretty soon.
No worries, mate. I hope that happens. I'll take you up on that. That'd be great. Thanks for having me, Chocco.
Great pleasure. And there you have it, around the grounds with Chocco. Stay tuned next week. We'll have another fantastic interview coming in your way. And as I said, stay safe, and we'll catch you real soon.